What's up, everybody? My name is Scott Waters, and welcome to the Life Temple. It's time for part 2 of my rock metal update. That was a little bit rough on that one, huh? I got a little bit of either a cold or allergy or something, and my throat's really sketchy, so sometimes doing the death metal growl isn't as easy as you think it is. But in any case, yeah, I got another stack. It's about as big as the one I showed in part 1. This one's a lot of hard rock from the 70s and into the 80s, but you know, whatever. I love the hard rock stuff from the 70s and even the 60s, and that's what this stuff is, and a lot of these are some of my favorite bands, and some of you guys have been watching me for a long time. You're going to be like, I can't believe you still haven't found every single album by that band. Well, this is one of them. You know, I'll know I'm a 10 Nugent fanatic, and to find this Japanese single was for Dog Eat Dog, backed with Free For All. So Dog Eat Dog being the A side, Free For All being the B side. Bit bizarre, but regardless, very cool pickup. This one, unlike most of the Japanese singles I've shown in my last few videos, was not bought from the same seller as I bought a lot of those from for $10 or under. I did win this one on eBay, and it wasn't super pricey. I mean, it was, you know, but it wasn't cheap either. It wasn't 10 bucks. But still, it's just one I've been looking for a while, so I was glad to snatch it up. This is a Canadian pressing of Cat Scratch Fever and Yank Me Crank Me live on both. Yank Me Crank Me being the A side. It's in the Canadian WEA sleeve. Warner, Elektra, Atlanta, and of course Nugent was on Epic, but Epic was part of the WEA umbrella, so very cool. It's just weird that it doesn't have the, you know, Epic thing on here, but from what I've looked at back before the 7-inch single site was gone, this is the correct sleeve for this release, so very cool. Another band you're going to be like, you don't have everything by them? I have a lot of singles from this band, but I didn't have this one. This is Aerosmith, excuse me, and this is a Canadian pressing of Last Child and Combination from Rocks. Combination, great song. Definitely one of those, you know, underground, deep cuts that I love. But what you got here is another one of those ones that's on the printed in Canada, and it's on the Canadian CBS sleeve. But much like the Judas Priest one I showed in my last video, this one also has the sleeve says printed in the USA, which is unusual because, like I said, most of the Canadian pressings I have with this orange CBS sleeve say printed in Canada on it. But all I can do is assume they must have printed up a giant batch of them from USA and imported them into Canada, because no US pressings were ever released with the CBS label that I'm aware of. So maybe any other singles collectors or people who are, you know, silly about this stuff like I am, anal about having the right sleeves on vinyl. Let me know what you think. If anybody knows, let me know. But I just find it unusual that the sleeve says printed in the USA, even if it does look like all the other Canadian sleeves. All right, Japanese single. I've had this one for a long time, and I just haven't shown it yet. I've got a pile of records over there, and I just was going through. I was like, I keep missing this one. But this is UFO. This is early UFO. Japanese single for Boogie for George and Follow You Home. And you can see it's got a cool little Phillips sleeve on the back. But another one of those bands, UFO. I love UFO. Phil Mogg is just like one of my favorite vocalists, and I just think anything by them is great. Even this early stuff that was more of the space rock, I think they called themselves. But you know, I like, you know, stuff like Hawkwind and stuff like that. So I like the space rock stuff. All right, another one of those bands. I love this band. Anything I can find by them, I snatch it up. This is Angel. And I'm just flipping it around. I can't see the center label. And this is one of those sleeves that doesn't have a hole in it. That's why I can't see the center label. So it's Leave Me Lonely. And here's the cover. I should probably show it to you guys instead of just staring at it myself. And it has the Victor sleeve inside of it. I can only assume that's the correct sleeve because it's obviously on the Casablanca label. But I think this is a promo pressing because it's got a white label, and I've seen copies of this before that have a different label, so I just don't know. But you got Stick Like Glue from Angel on one side, and Don't Leave Me Lonely on the other side, and it's yeah, it's a pretty simplistic, you know, center label for a Japanese pressing. I can only assume that the outside is identical to the one that was released for, you know, to the public, because there's no difference, because I do have one that was released to the public. I should have pulled it to look at the differences, but I didn't. But anyhow, Angel, Don't Leave Me Lonely, you know, this is one of those bands, I think if they could have stuck it out. I know they were roughing it at the end of the you know, end of the 70s into the 80s, because much like the end of the 90s, you know, hard rock and heavy metal in the 70s was kind of dying. I've got several magazines from 78 and 79 that says heavy metal is dead. Cream and Hit Parader and Circus and those kind of magazines all saying it was dead. And of course this is one of those bands that was always included. So of course they started trying to change their sound to adapt to the 80s. But the metal fans were still there, the rock fans were still there, and they weren't digging the sounds like them and Kiss were doing with, you know, trying to morph their sound into something more mainstream. Whereas Kiss went on to, you know, release some heavier stuff with, you know, Creatures of the Night and Lick It Up. Angel broke up. I personally think that and then some of the band members went on to do other things. Greg Jeffrey obviously went on to Jeffrey and House of Lords, which was also very melodic, commercial, slick kind of sound. I think if Angel would have stuck it out and continued to put out their style of music from the first 4 albums, I honestly think they would have created a whole new generation of fans instead of, you know, becoming a more obscure band that most people don't even know anymore. But anyhow, this is also another one. This is a German pressing of Winter Song, backed with there's a feeling in the air. Again, kind of late Angel, but I collect anything by Angel, and I do have several singles for the Winter Song and Christmas Song as well, because they're both basically the same song with different lyrics. But I didn't have this German pressing, so very cool to find that. All right, some Ronnie James Dio. I could have showed this in the last one, but I decided to hold it off because I've got more Rainbow to show. But Rainbow, Man on the Silver Mountain, Japanese pressing, Polydor label, very cool. Yeah, this is a pristine copy. Again, I got this for $10. I mean, you can find, you know, easy to find singles from pop artists for $10. So to find Japanese pressings like this for $10, very much worth it. And the seller that I work with, he's like, he pretty much lets me get as much as I want for $10 shipping, which is amazing coming from Japan. Unfortunately, I have several singles coming from him that never made it out of Japan and were returned to him because of some confusion with the tariff rules. He's tried shipping it again as a gift, so I'm really hoping they'll make it here this time. And unfortunately, I probably, until they straighten all this tariff stuff out, I won't be able to order from him for a while, because I don't want to. I mean, it sucks. He has to pay basically twice because they sent it back to him. So he's losing money on the deal. But I do buy a lot from him, so I really much appreciate the fact that, you know, he's still trying to get it to me. All right. Same seller. Another one of those ones that was, I think this one actually was $10. In pristine condition. I mean, really, really good condition. But it can't happen here. And let's see, the other song is... I can't see it. It's just... I'm sure I look like I'm all lit up on the screen, but it's actually kind of dark in this room right now. It's just this big ring light over here, and then there's like another yellower light over here, and those basically blind me, so I can't see things very well. So I have sometimes had to pull it out. Jealous Lover is on the B-side. So Richie Blackmore, Rainbow. I'm a bigger fan of the Dio era stuff. I love Rainbow Rising is one of my Desert Island albums. I love that album. I've got a giant 5 foot by 5 foot banner hanging on my ceiling in my office way over there. My granddaughter even knows that, you know, how much I love that album, and she, as a gift, watercolor painted me the Rainbow Rising cover. I had it framed and I got it hanging in the hallway out there. So yeah, I love that album, and I'm just a big fan of those Dio eras. They went obviously more commercial, more hard rock after that, but I still like that stuff too. You know, Straight Between the Eyes and stuff like that. They're great albums. It's just different from the Dio era stuff. Speaking of that, we've got Stone Cold, big hit for the band, backed with Rock Fever and this is a Canadian pressing. And this one actually does say, it's weird. It's in the Polygram sleeve on Polydor Records, and I believe Polydor is under the banner of Polygram. Maybe somebody who's watching can fill me in if you know more, or if I'm incorrect. But that's what I think. Polygram was like the banner, and there was several labels under it, being Polydor being one of them. But this is a Canadian pressing. Says printed in Canada on both the vinyl and the inner sleeve. So very cool. Ritchie Blackmore, Rainbow. All right, another band that I really only care for their first 5, maybe 6 albums. Their first 2 albums, 78, 79, are just, even 80 and 81, those first 4 albums are just brilliant in my opinion. They had a chemistry, but I'm talking about Van Halen. Once I don't know, once Diver Down came out, Diver Down's barely an album. It's basically an EP. It's one third Van Halen songs, 1/3 cover songs, and 1/3 filler fluff. And it's short. I don't even think it's 30 minutes long. I do like some of the songs on there, especially some of the original Van Halen songs and the covers. Anyhow, this is from, see, this would be from what, 80? I can't remember what year it came out. See, I get on camera and get stupid sometimes. But yeah, this is And the Cradle Will Rock, backed with Could This Be Love? Excuse me. Allergies drive me crazy right now. This is a German pressing. Man, why does it drive me crazy? I think it's 1980. And I definitely can't see the itty bitty little type to read it, but I'm thinking this is 1980 from their 3rd album. So the picture kind of gives the picture on the front cover kind of gives it away, but that's I think I'm correct. So I mean, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. You always do, and I actually do appreciate it, you know, because I mean I do these things from the hip. It's not like I went and, you know. Sometimes I like to put stickers on the back with the year and the country they're released in to do these 7-inch videos, because I buy some from all over the world. But with this batch, just going cold and scratching some of these things I've had for months and just haven't shown yet. So, Any Cradle Will Walk, Van Halen. Like I said, David Lee Roth Van Halen is really the only era of Van Halen I care for. I don't hate the Sammy Hagar era. It just got so commercial to me. There are some great songs, don't get me wrong, but there was just something special about the first 4 Van Halen albums, and nobody could touch them in 78, 79, 80, 81. When I was in school, they were the rage. Everybody loved Van Halen. So anyhow, another Van Halen single. This is a Japanese pressing, And the Cradle Will Rock, backed with Could This Be Magic? So basically the same song, but same single, but a Japanese pressing. And as you can see, it's got the Warner Brothers sleeve. And then from the Fair Warning album, so this is Love, backed with, oh, this is not, actually, I know this one, this is actually a promo single, so it's got Still This Is Love on both sides, stereo and mono version, picture sleeve single on the Warner Brothers label, and this is, I believe this is a U.S. pressing, if I'm not mistaken, but it does say right on there, not for sale, mono, promotional, but I'm pretty sure this is a U.S. pressing. And one more from Van Halen. This is I'll Wait, backed with Girl Gone Bad. This is a jukebox single from, obviously, back in the day with the jukebox slip inside of it. There it is there. U.S. pressing in the original Warner Brothers sleeve. Yeah, it's, you know, I prefer picture sleeves, but this is kind of a cool thing too. It's not like you see, I mean, a lot of the jukebox singles were tore up. I mean, those jukeboxes used to pile records on records, and the needles on those things weren't exactly the nicest, the greatest, so they got tore up. And this one here is, it obviously came out of a jukebox, but it is very well kept and very clean. So, all right, some Cheap Trick. Again, a lot of these bands, you're like, man, you don't have everything by them yet? Not everything. Another Japanese single. Well, I didn't even know about this single. I'm going to have to pull it out because I can't remember the name of the song, and I can't read Japanese. It'd be cool to be able to read Japanese, but there's the single. It's from a movie soundtrack. Gosh, why can't I remember the... I'm stumbling. I'm doing horrible. I don't care. Just showing off stuff I like. So we've got Speak Now or Forever Hold Your Peace on the A side, and the B side is I Want You to Want Me Live. And if I recall right, the live version is the version off of Budokan. So, okay, so I think as I recall, Speak Now Forever Hold Your Peace was from the first Cheap Trick album. Gosh, man, sometimes my brain. But regardless, this was released as a single for the movie soundtrack, and be darned if I can remember what the movie is. But it doesn't matter, it's Cheap Trick, so I snatched it up, and this again was one of those singles I picked up from that same Japanese seller for $10 or under. And what was the movie soundtrack? I wish I could read this stupid thing somewhere. But time for the... I don't know. Maybe, I'm sure one of you guys could tell me. There's a picture of the movie. The picture of the band is the smaller picture, the picture of the band with the pink above and below. The other picture is a picture of the cast of the movie. So there you go. See if somebody tell me what that is, because I can't remember for the life of me, and I can't read the Japanese on the front of it to tell you it either. All right, Cheap Trick, Ain't That a Shame. Back to with Hello Kitties. Excuse me. And this is another Canadian pressing in this orange CBS sleeve. And oddly enough, like the couple I showed in the one I showed in the last video and the one I showed earlier in this video, it's definitely a Canadian pressing in the orange Canadian sleeve. But the sleeve actually says printed in the United States. So I don't know if all these came around the same time, which they may have. It's just odd that they all say printed in USA when they're clearly the Canadian-looking sleeves. So I don't know. Like I said, all I can assume is maybe they pressed up a bunch of single sleeves in the United States and shipped them over to Canada. That's the only thing I can think of. But this is If You Want My Love. If you want my love, you got it. Japanese pressing. You can see the epic sleeve, and the B-side is Four-Letter Word. So another one of those bands, Cheap Trick. Again, I say their first 4 studio albums, even going into their first 5 studio albums, are just freaking brilliant. I like their whole catalog, but man, there's just something special about those first 3 albums that are untouchable. And of course, Live at Budokan is just one of the greatest live albums of all time. But I like Cheap Trick. They're just one of those bands I've liked since I was a kid, so anything by them I collect. And finding, cool Japanese singles like this, definitely not one you see very often. Again, under $10 for me, but I did search this out afterwards, and I couldn't find a copy for anywhere. $20 or more is all I could find on eBay. Some people were wanting $50. I even seen ridiculous prices, up in the hundreds of dollars, and that's ridiculous. And ain't nobody. That's the I don't want to sell it price, if you ask me. All right, another Canadian pressing, and all these came from the same place at the same time. And this too says "Made in the USA" on the sleeve, but it's clearly the Canadian pressing of Boston. Don't Look Back, backed with The Journey, 2 great songs from a great band. Another one of these bands who I collect anything by them, but their first 2 albums and even into the 3rd album I think are great. After that, a little spotty. I like some songs, I have them, but they're not my favorites. But speaking of that 3rd album, some more Japanese pressings. This is Boston with Amanda, which was their big hit ballad from the 3rd album, and backed with My Destination. And again, you can see the Warner Brothers sleeve on the back. And I don't think this one had a hole in it. Maybe it did, and I just didn't flip it over. Oh, this one does have an extra thing in it too, which I thought was kind of interesting, because usually it just has the the one inner sleeve. But this one had 2. So I think this might be a I don't know. I don't know what this is, because you can fill it out and send it in. It's like a postcard. I don't know what it is, but it's cool that it was included. And then, oh yeah, here it is. There's the MCA sleeve. After the first 2 albums, they left Epic Records and went to MCA Records. So there you go, Japanese pressing, Boston. All right, we got like 3 or 4 more, maybe 5. Looks like a lot of more Japanese pressings. Japanese pressing, Led Zeppelin. Again, Led Zeppelin singles, especially Japanese singles, sell for stupid money online. The person I bought this from, the seller I bought this from, $10. And I know some people don't like discussing prices when they do their videos, but this is worth way over $10. I've seen minimum bidding at $50. I've actually seen this seller, the same seller who sold this to me for $10, you know, put these on there and all of a sudden it goes up 20, 30, 50, 60 bucks. I bid on this one too. It wasn't a buy it now, and I bid 10 bucks and won. Nobody else bid on it, so I just got lucky on it. But anyhow, Led Zeppelin, A Whole Lot of Love, backed with Livin' Lovin', Made. Livin', lovin', she's just a woman. And then from the last, well, sort of last Led Zeppelin proper album, this is In Through the Outdoor, but Fool in the Rain, backed with Hot Dog. This is a Japanese pressing. It does have the Japanese writing on it, as you can see up in the top, but it's got the English huge, so, which is nice for me because I can actually read it. And that, I don't know if you could hear that rumble or not. That's thunder. I don't know. It just sounds like a storm is coming because, man, I literally feel the floor shaking. It was so loud. All right, last three are all kind of related, and they're 1, 2. So we got 2 more Japanese singles. The Runaways, All Right, You Guys, and Blackmail. Again, I'm a very blessed man to pick this one up for $10. Again, these singles just don't show up for that price here ever, and most Japanese sellers don't either. I mean, you can probably find somebody maybe selling it from Japan for 10 bucks, but you're going to pay $20 in shipping. That's what I've seen. Whereas I was able to pay 10 bucks for this one and buy several more singles and only pay $10 shipping for the whole lot. So, you know, basically in my brain, I'm like, okay, I bought one single for 10 bucks. I'm going to end up paying 20 bucks for it with shipping. Let me see what else I can find for $10 or under that I might be interested in. And the cost goes down per record. You know, so now instead of being a $20 record, if I bought 2, now it's a $15 record. If I bought 3, you know, it just keeps going down in price because until I get, I don't know. Sometimes if I get like 6 or more, he'll knock it up $1 or 2, but usually it's around 10 bucks. All right, this is Runaways related. These last 2 are. This is Cherry Curry, Science Fiction Days, back with The Only One. Yeah, when I was a kid. In the 70s and early 80s, this was one of my crushes. I just loved Cherry Curry. I've never got to meet her. I always wanted to meet her, just not because I had a crush on her. I just have been a fan of her since I was a kid. And yeah, I'd love to meet her, shake her hand, maybe get her an autograph, something like this right there, in a big spot to autograph. But haven't had that opportunity. Maybe someday. If Cherry Curry ever sees this video, love to meet you. And then finally, this is another one of those weird Canadian pressings that I got from the same seller as those weird CBS sleeves, but this is Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, Everyday People. This thing does not even come close to fitting into a regular sleeve. Yeah, it's here. Let me see if I can actually show the difference here. Let me take out one of these ones that aren't Japanese, so you can. Everything I was showing was Japanese. All right, so here's a regular 7-inch. And you can see how much further over the red goes on this sleeve. I've got an oversized sleeve here, and it barely fits in there. I mean, it's literally shoved in there to keep it clean. It's weird, and it doesn't fit in any of my record boxes. It's too wide, so I have to go to make it fit. And now, of course, it sticks out the top a little bit. But regardless, it's still a cool single. I've never owned it before, and I'm just a fan of anything, you know, Runaways related. Another woman I've never met. I've heard that she's really cool with her fans, but regardless, I like Joan Jett, I like Lita Ford, I like Cherry Curry, and I like the Runaways. So I'm just a rock and roll fan. What can I say? But yeah, anyhow, Everyday People, backed with Why Can't We Be Happy on the B side. So that's it. That's my second 7-inch single update, hard rock metal. Appreciate y'all watching once again. I did screw up a few times in this video. If anybody knows, or if anybody knows the answers to the questions that I asked, I appreciate the answers. I always love interacting with you guys. So that's it. God bless. Stay strong.